She's born with blue eyes in a country that slammed the door on every foreign face, and people look at her like she's a walking crime scene. So she does the only thing that makes sense. She turns the thing that isolates her into a blade and points it at the world. As a kid, she learns early that if you don't want to get hurt, you stay small and quiet. Her mother hides her from neighbors who whisper demon like it's a greeting. But the girl finds a place where eyes don't matter, a blind swordsmith's workshop where the only thing that counts is the sound of steel telling the truth. The smith can't see her, so he can't flinch. He just listens to the strike, corrects her grip, makes her hammer again. She bleeds, learns, and figures out the rhythm of focus that doesn't care about feelings. When you have no friends, a perfect swing becomes company. Then she makes a list. 4 foreign men slipped into Japan while the country locked itself down. One of them is her father. All of them are guilty by proximity, and she decides that's close enough. She doesn't know which face is responsible, so she vows to erase them all. By the time she's grown, she's not a person anyone's ready for. Hair bound, glasses hiding the blue, voice flat enough to pass. She walks into Edo like a storm, pretending to be fog. People see a thin, broke swordsman and relax. People love being wrong. She meets a one-handed cook named Ringo, who thinks she's the coolest thing since noodles met broth. He offers food, questions, and loyalty she never asked for. She turns him down with the warmth of a winter night, and he follows anyway, because stubborn kindness can smell a loner from a mile away. She needs names, so she hunts rumors, docks, gambling dens, places where guards drink too much and brag too loud. That's where she crashes into Taigen, a shiny samurai champion with perfect posture and even better self-love. He tries to make an example of the nobody with the cheap blade. She lets him come close just to learn his rhythm, then slices through his form like it's paper pretending to be silk. He hits the ground hard enough to bruise his ancestors. The crowd gasps, his pride exits his body, and she leaves before applause can turn into questions. Now she's got a problem, attention. She wanted to be smoke. Instead, she's a rumor with legs. So she tightens up, changes routes, and digs deeper. The city is a maze, but loneliness has always been her map. That's when Akemi shows up in her story, a noble woman with a gilded cage and a head full of ideas about freedom. She spots the swordsman who moves like a knife and sees an exit sign. Mizu, because yes, our ghost has a name, tries to shut the door on that. Attachments are how you get killed, or worse, distracted. But fate has a mean sense of humor. A fancy party, a private back room, and whispers of a pale foreign face who never should have been there. Mizu slips in through paper screens and soft laughter, one hand on her blade, reading the room like it's a battlefield in silk. She gets a glimpse, light eyes, skin that doesn't belong, and the world narrows to a single breath. The strike is clean, the panic instant, and security rushes in like ants around spilled sugar. She gets out barely, thanks to a loud distraction that smells suspiciously like Ringo's idea of bravery and Akemi's idea of subtlety. Now the city's awake to the blue-eyed ghost who isn't actually a ghost. So she does what she always does when the noise gets loud. She retreats to the quiet and upgrades her weapon. The forge becomes confession and punishment in one. She experiments until sleep, pain, and hunger are just background settings. No mentor speeches, no gentle progress, just failure, heat, and stubborn repetition until the metal listens. Most people cope by talking. She copes by trying to make a blade that refuses to be anything but perfect. When she reemerges, there's a colder edge to her movements. Word on the docks says a foreign trader with a temper and too much money passed through under protection. She follows the money, the arrogance, the stink of immunity, and she finds a door guarded like a shrine to bad decisions. Inside is a man confident in the kind of way that comes from never paying for what you've done. She carves her way to him, slow and surgical, like she's trimming fat. But this is just a handler, some middle rung already sure he's untouchable. He coughs up a name anyway, because pain is a persuasive language. Abijah Fowler. It lands heavy, the kind of name that comes with ships, guns and a taste for cruelty. If the others are storms, he's the winter behind them. She doesn't smile. She just files it away and leaves that house with fewer guards than it started with. Taigen's pride won't stay buried, so he starts hunting the swordsman who made him look human. Akemi keeps trying to swap her gold cage for a wooden door. Ringo is boiling broth like it's medicine and answering to no one, especially not the part of his brain that says, maybe stop following assassins. Through all of it, Mizu narrows herself to a point. She'll show up where the noise is, but she won't live in it. Every step is alone on purpose, like she's rehearsing for the day she won't need anyone or anything. Focus isn't just discipline for her, it's survival turned into art. She didn't choose exile. People handed it to her like a curse. She just figured out that if you grip a curse tight enough, it sharpens. And the people who made her feel like a monster, they're about to meet one built out of patience, practice, and a very short list. So she walks into the city like a rumor somebody forgot to whisper. Edo's buzzing, banners flapping, dice hitting wood, and every alley's got a story about a blue-eyed demon with a temper and a to-do list. She doesn't announce herself. She just finds the loudest place, the place where men gamble on other men, and quietly turns their noise into information. Step 1 is humiliation. There's this golden boy samurai, shiny family name, shiny armor, 0 cents. He thinks a street duel is his big moment, some poetry in the rain nonsense he can brag about later. She takes his measure in a blink, taps his pride like a drum, and folds him in front of his audience so fast his shadow's still mid-swing when he hits the dirt. And yeah, his fiancé's there, proper highborn, tucked behind a fan like that's gonna hide the look in her eyes when she sees someone actually free. She's clocking Mizu the way you clock a way out, and Mizu clocks her back with a glance that basically says, "Congratulations on your cage." It's not friendship, it's recognition, and that's always dangerous. The crowd gasps, the golden boy's breathing like he just swallowed a porch, and Mizu bows like it was nothing. Because to her, it was. She didn't do it for the applause. She did it because every public win tips the city's gossip toward the name she needs. And she's got 4 of those like nails she keeps in her mouth. Word spreads. The blue-eyed Ronin isn't just real. She is a problem. And problems attract the wrong kind of attention and the right kind of guide. Enter Ringo, a walking optimism factory with a kitchen knife, a missing couple of fingers, and a dream so loud it drowns out the noise people make when they laugh at him. He latches on like an annoying ghost that cooks, shows up with rice balls, wide eyes, and a speech about becoming a samurai that would be cute if it wasn't so stubborn. Mizu tells him no the way a door tells the wind no. He keeps blowing. Suddenly she's got an apprentice she didn't ask for, who calls her master with the same confidence he mispronounces the names of the cuts he wants to learn. She puts rules on him like armor he's not big enough to wear. Don't talk. Don't ask. Don't follow. Okay, fine. Follow, but stay 10 paces back. He smiles like she just said yes to everything, and she hates that a little less every day, which is infuriating because feeling anything is off mission. While the boy chatters, she's collecting the city's whispers like beads, threading them into a path. Foreigners still snake through the capital under the table, even when the law says the door is nailed shut. Money greases everything, and somewhere in that grease are men with pale faces and bad habits that match her nightmares. She learns the names, the routes, the boats that don't dock where they're supposed to. And when the leads get thin, she hunts for sharpness somewhere else. There's a hidden forge on the edge of everything, tucked behind a shutter that doesn't open unless you know what to ask for with your hands. The old smith there doesn't smile. He doesn't talk much either. He just looks at her, weighs her like steel and nods once, which is samurai for you can work here if you clean up your own blood. Hammer, fold, breathe, quench. It's the kind of prayer that burns your lungs till they stop complaining. The boy falls asleep sitting up. She doesn't. She keeps hitting the metal like it insulted her mother, and the only applause she wants is the bell-like ring of a blade that doesn't waver. Mastery shows up the same way sunrise does, slow, unromantic, every day, until one morning you realize the light was always coming for you. When the old man corrects her grip, he does it with a slap and a grunt that could mean anything. When he doesn't correct it, that's the compliment. She learns the weight of silence, the rhythm of heat. At night she trains with the new edge under moonlight, slicing blind through reed mats like she's arguing with ghosts. She counts notches in her mind, not kills. Repetition's the point. Obsession's the lever she uses to pry the world open. Back in the city, the golden boy's busy trying to climb out of the hole she put him in. He trains hard, sweats honor, but honor's a mirror, and it's merciless. He wants to be seen as strong more than he wants to be strong, and that's why he loses every time before the sword even leaves the scabbard. Meanwhile, his fiancée, not really his anything, is writing her own quiet rebellion in stolen minutes and side glances. She keeps finding excuses to cross paths with the blue-eyed Ronin, and the excuses are getting thinner than rice paper. Mizu keeps them both at arm's length, like she's allergic. She can spar with their problems all day, but let a feeling slip past her guard? Absolutely not. She's got a map in her head. Temples, tea houses, dockside warehouses that smell like fish and fear, and everything that isn't an arrow pointing at one of those four men is noise. When people smile at her, she looks away like it's a flash of light that might give her position away. She finally catches the trail of one of them, perfume and coins and a taste for cruel theater. He throws parties the way a cat plays with birds. His guards aren't samurai. They're big men with bigger swords who think discipline is a kind of dessert. Perfect. She blends in by being exactly what she's always been, overlooked until the moment she isn't. Getting in isn't hard. Everyone's staring at the wine like it's a miracle, and not just a bottle some sailor bullied through a blockade. The rooms glow warm, laughter sticky sweet, and in the middle sits a man with the kind of smile you only wear if you've never heard the word consequence said with teeth. Mizu watches from the edges, counting doors, timing patrols, mapping the angles. It looks like patience. It's actually pressure building. Ringo's outside, pacing a rut into the dirt, swearing he's not nervous out loud, like that ever convinces anybody. He wants to help. He wants to be brave. What he really is a kid who believes in heroes, which is why it kills him a little to learn that the best work is done in the dark, with nobody cheering. Inside, Mizu inches closer with the ease of a shadow, acting like it belongs to a different body. She checks her breath, checks her blade, checks herself for anything soft that could get someone else killed. There's a thread she follows from her belly to her hand to the tip of the steel, and when that thread's tight, the world stops being a room and starts being a line she can walk down without slipping. It's not the first time she's tried a move like this, but it's the first time the target's been this close to one of the names on the list. Her heart does the thing you hate your heart for doing. It keeps beating. She pushes the feeling into the scabbard with the sword, slow, clean, and when she steps out of the circle of lamplight, there's no version of her left except the one built for cutting. The man laughs. He tells a story, the kind where the hero is always the one who looks most like him. She gives him the mercy of listening, because soon listening is a luxury he won't have anymore. Focus, in that moment, is a house she locks from the inside. What's about to happen isn't rage. It's the answer to a question the world's been asking her since she opened her blue eyes. What are you? Tonight she's the edge that loneliness forged, and the first name on her list is about to learn that isolation doesn't make you weaker, it makes you surgical. He tries to turn the room into a marketplace, all breath and bargains, like there's a tax he can pay to not be guilty anymore. He's got that trembling flower voice politicians use when they realize the crowd isn't cheering this time. She asks for names, and he spills them fast, the way weak men do when the floor suddenly looks like an ocean. He thinks confession is a coupon. It isn't. She thanks him for the clarity with a cut so clean he doesn't even know he's dead yet. The blade whispers through his throat, and the apology just hangs there in the air, unfinished, like his entire life. She wipes glass on silk and leaves the blood in his perfume, which is about the only honest thing he's worn. By the time the first guard notices the room is too quiet, she's already stepping through the paper wall and back into the hall like a bad idea no one can catch. She doesn't run. Running is loud. She pads past a sleeping attendant, glides down the stairs, and the only sound she makes is the wet drip she calmly shakes off her fingers before it hits the tatami. Out in the courtyard, the moon does that cruel thing it does for her sometimes, catches her eye, and turns blue into proof. She adjusts her hat lower and keeps moving, because even the moon minds its business when it sees what she just did. By morning, the story is out. A pale-eyed demon, a swordsman in ink-black robes who walked into a fortress and walked out with a ghost. Gossip eats breakfast before the city does, and today, it's chewing on fear. She doesn't savor it. Fear is a smell, not a meal. She only takes what she came for: a ring, a ledger with 4 names like stains, and 1 new direction. He'd said there was a bigger one, further east, the rich one who smiles like a blade. The shipman with the cannon dreams, protected by silkscreens and rented samurai. Fowler, the type of man history pretends it can't find later, because it's safer to forget the names of men who sold nations the rope to hang themselves. She tucks his name somewhere her rage can't touch, because rage is sloppy and she can't afford sloppy. She washes the blood out at the river and meets the only person in the world who will speak to a ghost without screaming. He's a cook, half a hand down and twice the optimism, carrying a pot that's older than his common sense. He stares at the water going pink around her and says, "So, you picky about salt?" The fact that she doesn't drown him right there means he's already getting somewhere. He talks like a sparrow pecking rice. He narrates her silence, guesses at her thoughts, trades secrets for smiles she doesn't give. He tries to follow at a respectful distance, which becomes a disrespectful distance after about 5 seconds. She tells him no like a door. He hears maybe like a window. Loneliness really does that, makes you think any crack is an invitation. She ditches him at a market, then loses him again at a shrine, then unleashes a level of glare that should turn him to ash. He still shows up at nightfall with dumplings and a bow that might as well be a leash on himself. He says he wants to learn. She hears the begging in it, the same sound she used to make to a man who showed her how to swing a blade until it felt like truth. She tells him, "You don't learn this. You decide to die for it, and then see if you live anyway." He nods like that's a coupon too. The next morning he's still there. She makes him carry water until his one good arm shakes, and when he drops a bucket, he apologizes to the ground. She rolls her eyes so hard it's almost a flashback, then lets him walk behind her like a shadow that talks too much. Focus doesn't mean you walk alone. It just means you learn how to carry noise without letting it in. The trail to Fowler runs through silk, so of course it rubs up against someone else's cage. A lord's daughter with a spine disguised as etiquette is being wrapped in a wedding the way you wrap a sword before you sell it. A Kemi smiles like a poem and bleeds like a person, and everyone around her pretends not to see either. Her father trades her for alliances the way men trade spices, loudly, with a lot of sniffing. Mizu enters their world the way rain enters a roof, silently, finding seams. She needs access to the feast where foreign hands shake domestic power. She doesn't bring an invitation. She brings nerve and a patience that looks like calm. Even the guards sense it. Animals do too. Dogs lower their gaze when they see something that's already decided you don't matter. Up close, the nobles are exactly what she expected. Paper-thin dignity, propped up by people they refuse to look in the eye. The groom's family struts like peacocks that forgot their edible, whispering about tradition while starving it. There's a swordsman among them who's actually sharp, tied in, beautiful like a statue, and just as bendy. He clocks Mizu from across the courtyard, that little tilt of the chin men do when the room stops applauding and they need a new sport. They dance their first conversation with looks and small steps, blades still sleeping but fingers awake. He's proud, she's precise. He moves to test her, and she lets him, because it's useful to know how often someone blinks before they stab you. The roast here is simple. He's the type who thinks discipline is the same thing as destiny. She knows better. Discipline is what you do after destiny fails to show. Inside, the foreigner she wants isn't here. That would have been too easy, and easy was never in her script. Instead, there's a man who smells like the sea and fear, a